All right, hello everyone. Theodore Burns here again for another edition of a Formula Sprint walkthrough. This is week 6, and we are at the Summit Point Motorsports Park. So this is finally a track that we've run last season. So we had a pretty decent idea of lap times, but we did change the setup a bit, and they've updated the cars since then, so our lap times are running a little bit slower than last season. Last season we were able to get down into the low 102s, and this season I think we'll be in the high 102s. So this is from an official race session earlier today. I ran a 103.3, so I've gone a little bit faster in practice, but this is a really clean lap, so I think this is a good one to show you guys. Like I said, I think we'll get down into the 102s at some point this week, especially if you can get a draft. So without ado, let's ride along for a lap around Summit Point. All right, and so there we have it. So I really love this track. So I'll try and make this quick and concise here and hit all the main points. So let's start turn one. So coming down to turn one, when you're on a hot lap, you can brake down really close to the two markers here. Probably could brake here, but it gets a little sketchy with the bumps you hit right near the end of the braking zone. So I like to brake at what I would say is about the 25. I'm not quite halfway in between the 3 and the 2. I'm more on the edge of the 2 there. So as you see, we're coming up right there is where we're hitting the brakes. Use a lot of braking, try and do as much of it in a straight line as possible, but then we're going to start to turn in pretty soon, and we're going to carry quite a bit of trail brake into the corner here. And we're coming down to only second gear, and I want to get down nice and tight over onto the curbing here. I don't want to actually hit the curbing with the right side tires. I'll upset the car a little bit, but a good idea is to try and stay on this concrete pad here, but not the blimp view. Try and stay on this concrete pad here is a good idea as you're getting around the corner. So right by the time the curbing ends here, we should be focused on trying to have the car entirely rotated so we can get back on throttle. And we can get back on pretty aggressively, but it's again, it's still a smooth application onto the throttle. So as we see as I pace forward here, so by the time I get to the end of the curbing there, I've already gotten up half throttle. The car's nice and rotated. And I can start to feed in more throttle, keeping a lot of steering angle and trying to stay on this concrete pad, if not just inside of it. There's like a big bump like right here, so it's okay not to be right on the grass, but I want to try and stay to the right-hand side here. If I get on throttle a little bit too early before the car's rotated, I'm going to end up washing out and going really wide here on exit. And it's really important to try and stay at or inside of the dashed lines here in the middle of the track and over to the right-hand side. And that'll be worth about a tenth down this next straightaway here if you can stay inside of that and not have to track out. And that, again, that's all in just getting that car rotated through turn one there. Again, I'm going to kind of, try and straight line this as much as possible, but I'm staying middle of the track and trying to apex both of these here. So let's go back and play through corner one here one more time for you guys. All right, so coming here to this uphill corner, this is a very tricky one. It's not any great references for braking. I'm kind of looking towards the second access road up here, and just a little bit before it, where the concrete starts, is about where I'm going to be braking. Right about that point right there. And it's not a huge brake. It's more of actually just a lift into here. You can carry a little bit of trail brake if you want. But see, once I get up to this point, I'm just lifting off, I'm just touching the brakes there to try and set the car as I turn up the hill. You want to be real careful not to dip your right side tires off into the grass here. It's a great way to end up off the track. I turn in just a touch too soon, and you can ride over this curb quite a bit, but I like to try and get just like this, get nice real close to it, and maybe just kissing it with the left side tires. And once I have gotten the car turned in, again, once I've got it rotated, I can get back on full throttle, and I can drive it out of here, no problem. The car will get real light here as you crest up over the hill and track out, but if you've kept it tight onto that curb there's no worry of dipping the right side tires off here and grabbing a 1X. But you'll very likely end up on this curbing here, but again, it's very safe, not anywhere near dipping the tires off. And even if you do dip the tires off, you may get a 1X, but it's not too bad as far as maintaining control there. And then the rest of the straightaway here, I like to try and get over the left-hand side as I crest up over the hill to set up for the next section. So we'll play this uphill corner one more time in real speed. So I stayed in 5th gear all the way through the uphill. I can get 6 coming down here through this corner, and if I have a nice wide entry, very smooth steering, I can take this flat out. A good lap, I'll be shifting up to 6th gear there coming down the hill. Sometimes if it's a bad lap, you may be around 5th here. I wouldn't advise actually shifting up to 6. I've seen some people trying to shift up to 6 in this section right after the corner. That's not a great idea. So setting up for one of the next hardest braking zone on the course is right here. So it's really important to try and get your steering wheel straight after this corner. So we have a lot of downforce, so we can get through there no problem. You want to get the steering wheel straight and the car settled before you hit the brakes. If you're still turning, the car is still loaded on the left-hand side as you apply the brakes, it's very easy to spin out here. So you may feel like you need to lift in that corner, but that's not the case. You can take it flat as long as you get that steering wheel straight before you apply the brakes. Ideally, I want to be middle of the track to the right side here so I can get a nice turn. And you can take a shallow line into there, especially if you're battling with someone else, but again, it's not ideal. It's heavy braking, going to come down to 2nd gear, and I try and carry quite a bit of speed into this corner. Now the car doesn't turn quite as well as it did in last season's setup, but I want to be looking again for this concrete pad here, and I'm trying to hit a real late apex right where this kind of mound of dirt is here, right near the end of the curbing. It kind of juts out almost a little bit there. And you can really get the car down onto that curbing and rotate around. So right where the concrete pad meets the curbing is where I'm looking to apex. And so I've carried all the trail brake down. I'm letting the car rotate. I'm not quite getting on throttle yet until I've hit that apex there. And then I can start to ease back into the throttle and as I come out of there. So, and then I can get all the way up into full throttle, and I'm going to actually stay in 2nd gear here for this section. So I'm going to replay through that section one more time, because the next one here, it'll be quite a long, drawn together section. So like I said, I like to try and stay in 2nd gear. You can come up to 3rd, but I find that it will usually push you a little bit wide here in this corner. Now this corner is extremely important. I would say it's probably one of the most important corners on the track, especially for a good Sector 2 time, and that translates into a good lap time. Because if you get the exit out of this corner wrong, you're struggling all the way until start finish. And you may see why here in a second. So I like to brake pretty early coming into the corner here. There's no real good brake points, but like I said, I'm kind of maxing out here, and once I can start to see the curbing, that's when I'm braking, and I'm staying in 2nd gear. I'm really going to turn down pretty early. I want to get the car as low into the corner as possible. Again, on the concrete pad and right down onto this curbing. As you notice, I'm putting in a lot of steering angle here. Still getting used to those load cell pedals, so I'd like to be carrying just a touch of trail brake. If I'd rest my foot on it, that'd be ideal into this corner here. But again, getting the car rotated. So right here, I can kind of feel the car, it's started to rotate, and I can start to see out the exit. So I'm going to start to ease into the throttle here pretty quickly. And so once I got it completely rotated here on exit, that's when I really go to full. And now coming up here, this next corner is really deceiving. It seems like it's a really open corner, but it's really not. And but a lot of this has to really come with the approach to get a good time through here. And so notice I'm staying in the middle of the track here. I'm not tracking over to the left-hand side like I'm really setting up for this corner. I've kept the car in kind of a right-hand turn the entire time. I've never really straightened out my hands. I'm still kind of turning. I've made the radius a little bit longer, and now I've brought it back in a little bit tighter, and I'm trying to hit this curb as early as possible. It's a late apex on the curb, but I want to be turned in as early as possible. So right here I've come down a little lift, down to about half throttle, but that's about as far down as I'm going to go. And you see I actually start easing back into it. So I'm looking to try and get this curb right near the exit here. The edge of the curb is where I'm looking for my apex. I want to get close to this. I don't want to ride up on the curb. It'll kind of upset the car, especially coming over a little crest right here, and you may end up spinning off to the side. But I want to stay really tight onto this one and be really tight on the track here on the exit for the next corner here for the left-hander. So at this point I'm full throttle, and I will stay this way all the way down the straightaway. So that's why that last corner was important, because I only came down to about half throttle through there. So being able to be full throttle throughout this next section here is extremely important for the good lap time. Come up to fourth gear. You can even do a little short shift there if you feel a little uncertain coming up over the crest there if the rear end gets light. But it's going to be real smooth steering here in the left-hander, and I don't want to put my left side tires onto this curb, but I'm looking for my apex right at the end of the curbing right here. And there's a huge divot in the grass, so I don't actually want to put the left side tires over the left there. And if you do ride up on the curb, the car gets extremely loose to the corner, and it's really easy to spin out. So I'm looking to stay really tight on the access road over here to the left. Again, still full throttle. I'm in fourth gear, and I'll be shifting to fifth gear here real soon, right in the right-hand uphill corner here. And it's a really early turn-in. It's, you know, as I'm on the access road, once I get right to the end of the access road is when I'm turning into it. Almost before the corner, I can even really see the corner. Because if I wait a little bit too long and drive a little bit farther up, I lose a lot of camber on the right half of the road here, and it's really hard to actually stay on track coming up here. So you can ride over this curb quite a bit. I think I'll just kiss it with the right side tires or get real close to it. You want to get just really close to the curb here, a little bit off, it's no problem. You'll likely still stay on track here coming up the uphill. But if I'm able to nail this right-hand corner here, it is no problem coming up the hill, staying off of the curbing here on the left. No chance of going off into the grass, spinning whatsoever. It's a really easy corner as long as you nail that turn-in. And keeping it tight there on that corner allows you to gain a bit of time coming up the straightaway versus taking a really wide exit. And that's flat out up through here, 6th gear all the way down. So let's play back through almost the entirety of Sector 2 there one more time. Starting with the corner right here. And yeah, try and focus on being smooth steering and as much throttle as possible. So last corner, pretty tricky. Again, this car, it's the setup's a little bit different than last season. So last season we could take it pretty much almost flat out, just a little lift. I like to use just a touch of brake here to set it. If I have a really good line through here, I could have probably done without that, just a little lift. But there's certainly a bit of time here, but it's a tricky corner. So what I'm looking for as kind of a braking zone is you see this dirt over here on the left-hand side of the track. And so kind of right at the start of this dirt is what I'm looking for. And now as I'm looking to the dirt, I want to make sure I don't drive the car off the track and into the dirt. I want to keep the left side tires on the track. Otherwise, be a pretty bad time spinning out in the last corner there. I've done that quite a few times in practice. So it's just a little tap of the brakes, and I'm not really carrying a whole lot of trail brake. I'm trying to get the car turned in really early into this corner. So it's not super critical to actually hit the apex on the inside. You can take this corner pretty wide out because it really opens up on exit and you have a lot of track there. So basically as soon as you get the car turned in, you can get back on throttle really aggressively. You don't need to hit the apex, you don't need to hit that curb, you can get close to it. Again, you can be a half a car off of it. It really doesn't matter, you're not going to lose a whole lot of time through there. I personally like to try and get close to it so that I don't ride over this curb here on the exit. So I like to try and stay to the right side of this curb, just putting the left side tires on it. Now you can use all of this exit road here, but I find, especially in this car with the low ride height, is that this curbing here, it really affects it, and there's, you really bounce coming over it and back over onto the side. And if you end up driving over the end of the curb here, or getting really close to the edge of the grass, there's a little bump here, but a huge bump here. And I've had that bump upset the car so much that it actually puts you into a spin, whether you're driving across it straight or not. So just for safety's sake, especially in a race session, I like to try and stay to the right of this curb. If possible, try and get back over this as soon as possible so you don't actually end up riding over the end of the curb, or worse yet, over here on the access road altogether. So I'll play through the last corner here and to the line one more time in real speed. And there we have a 103.360 lap around Summit Point Raceway. So hope you guys enjoy another video here, and look forward to seeing you guys out there on track. So again, feel free to ask any questions, leave some comments, any way I can improve here, and yeah, again, good luck out there this week. Hope I help you guys out.